All right, let's get to this final one. This is one that we're going to have in prime time. We got number 1, Oregon. They're a 14-point favorite against my guy, Luke Fickell, and Wisconsin. Over under is 52.5 in this game. Wisconsin has been like a little bit of a roller coaster this year, no doubt. Like they had their stretch of not playing very great, and then they had 3 games where they looked really good, and then it's kind of like come back down to earth for them a little bit. They're playing with Braden Locke, who is a backup quarterback, and I think that he does a great job for the circumstances, but he's also guaranteed to throw an interception every game. And then here we have Oregon, and we've talked about them this whole show as just consistent, just offensively go out, get the job done, defensively go out, get the job done. We talk about Dan Lanning and the way he likes to manage games. If you didn't watch last week, they had a fake punt. Jordan Birch, who is a 6'6", 290 defensive lineman, was out there running the ball like he was a running back. Like this is what Oregon does. And just to throw this in there, and I'm glad you put this note in here, Nicole, the semifinalists for the Joe Moore Award came out, and among all of the semifinalists, you have the Oregon Ducks. And we were talking about how they couldn't protect the beginning of the year, and all they did was a little bit of shuffling on that offensive line, and they have done a phenomenal job, not only protecting Dylan Gabriel, but their run game is one of my favorite to watch. It's not a super dominant run game, but it's a really effective run game.
Yeah, they deserve a ton of credit for figuring that out. They really did have issues in the first couple weeks of the season. And then obviously breaking in a transfer quarterback, but someone so experienced in Dylan Gabriel, it is now meshing. It is now working. And so that's really like, I'm just interested in getting a closer view of them and going to Camp Randall. Again, Wisconsin has been very inconsistent. They beat up on some bad teams in the Big Ten. We wondered if they had turned a corner. Still not quite there. Like these are the games Luke Fickell has not been able to win at Wisconsin. These are the games that they've really, really struggled. And this is why they went out and got him. They went and said, hey, we don't want to just win the Big Ten West or, beat the teams that are in the West because now there's no divisions. We want to contend for national championships. We want the ceiling to be higher. And then it's been rough. It's been rough. You're trying to, kind of overhaul the offensive identity of a program that's been there for decades, and just work through things. You've had quarterback injuries, a lot of injury luck actually over the last 2 seasons, bad luck. So there's just a lot that's still out there that Luke Fickell and the staff need to prove. I don't know if they're going to be able to do it against the number 1 team in the country. The only team that has actually been consistent over the course of this year. Use that stat, by the way. So it's the first time since 2014 that we're this far into the season and only 1 preseason top 25 team is undefeated. And it's Oregon. So that's where we are. Like that's how they have played compared to everybody else in a chaotic season. They're favored by 14.5 points. I think they're going to cover it.
Yeah.
But I am still interested in seeing them on the road in an environment like this. I would like to see Wisconsin push them. I'd like for us to learn something about the Ducks. But at this point, man, I mean, it's smooth sailing, Big Ten championship game, CFP, like they're so well positioned for all of this. And Dan Lanning is such a great coach that I'm not concerned about it. It is just, 2 touchdown spread is a lot, but I think that this offense is good enough to do it. I think the defense has played well. And I do think, to your point about the run game, they'll just be able to ice the game away once they have it too late.
I agree with all of that. I do think they cover this number. They've been just so consistent, and Wisconsin is just not. It doesn't feel like they're in a spot right now to pull off an upset like that, and it's unfortunate for year 2 and Luke Fickell, and I certainly thought that the program was going to be further along than this. Now, I will say, for the sake of driving narratives, you have Nebraska. They're playing USC. If they lose, and then Wisconsin loses this game to Oregon, you've got 2 Big Ten year 2 coaches everybody was excited about seeing their programs take steps, and they will be playing for a bowl bid. Okay. And so that is going to be a huge one if the outcomes are that both of those teams lose this week.
Which, by the way, so these are multiple levels of desperation for these coaches and these seasons, because USC and Nebraska playing each other is that. Right? Like we've seen, again, we talked about the offensive coordinator change on one side, quarterback change, Miller Moss got benched on the other side. There's a lot at stake there. And then to your point.
Yes. The drama, I feel like a lot of people just look at the drama of the teams that are in the playoff picture and the conference races, whatever. I want to look at the meat of the conference. I want to see who's fighting for a bowl game and making all the changes to try to get there. That's the drama I like.
I mean, especially I know we'll talk about this next week and next week's pod too, but about USC. You're in a world now where the buyout for Lincoln Riley is over $90 million, I'm told. And then you have a scenario where now UCLA is playing well. They've gotten better over the course of the season, which definitely doesn't help because you have been nosediving and people have been just really frustrated where you are in the Lincoln Riley tenure, plus everything else. And Indiana being undefeated at this point in the year with a year one coach does not help any of these programs. Everyone's why didn't we have a Kurt Signe? Why can't we do what Indiana's doing? They've lost more games than anybody else in the history of college football, and they're winning. They're number 5 in the country. So all of that as a backdrop, it really is fascinating. So we will definitely talk more
can
about
I just
USC
get one more little thing here since we're just going all
over the place? Yes.
UCLA can absolutely make a bowl game. They've got Washington, USC, and Fresno State, and I think they just have to win 2. So I didn't have that at the beginning of the year. After they got cooked at home by Indiana, I'm like, they're dead in the water.
You know what? That might be also one of those overreactions. We're oh, how nice for Indiana. That's so, maybe.
And also, Deshaun Foster can't coach. It's just the whole overreaction.
Turns out, maybe Indiana's just really, really good and UCLA could still turn things around.